Good evening, guys. We are tracking severe thunderstorms currently ongoing up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We have a few storms that are exhibiting some weak rotation at this point. We have one warning in effect. It's a pretty big warning. Click on it. It's for Iron, Dickinson, and Marquette counties until 6:45 p.m. These are moving east at around 45 miles per hour. The threats right now are 1 inch hail and 50-mile-per-hour winds. If we zoom in, we pause this radar and we zoom in, you can see there's a little bit of rotation there with the bright green being the inflow. There's a little bit of red color here that's meeting that bright green. Same thing with other swarthy storms back to the west here. We're exhibiting very strong inflow with some broad rotation. Right now, it's all in the upper atmosphere, nothing currently surface based when it comes to rotation, but we're watching that closely as there is enough wind shear this evening to cause a few brief spin up tornadoes. Can you guys hear me okay? We have Nick coming on here. Nick, you are now part of the stream. I'm going to leave my camera off for tonight. I'll just be talking. Hopefully, this is a very short lived event, although it doesn't appear to be very. Looks like the storms are really popping off right now. Currently, guys, watching in Lower Peninsula, down southern parts of Michigan, central and southern parts of Michigan, you guys do not have any particular threat today. The threat for you guys comes tomorrow and Wednesday. This is today and tonight mainly for the upper peninsula in the very far northern parts of the lower peninsula of Michigan. We can talk about Tuesday and Wednesday here. If we have some downtime, which I can go ahead and do that right now if you want me to. But so
I'm here.
just a little bit ago for Tuesday and Wednesday for our subscribers. We'll make that live for the public here in the next hour or two. Currently finalizing a forecast map for that, but mainly we're watching areas. Go ahead and zoom out and cover these areas down here. I'm going to make a circle down here. If you're from Saginaw to Muskegon and then south, including the thumb here. So if you're in this part of Michigan, tomorrow especially is your day to watch. We're going to be watching this cold/warm front. It's kind of like a boundary. We're going to call it a boundary. It sags south overnight. It ends up somewhere in central Michigan, and by early afternoon tomorrow, it pops off storms, which could potentially be severe. The latest afternoon models are kind of backing off on the amount of moisture that we're going to have available, so we're going to have to kind of see how that plays out. But for right now, if you're from Saginaw to Muskegon and south, you're going to be watching for severe storms tomorrow afternoon and evening. Then Wednesday is kind of up in the air on how Tuesday plays out, but right now the I-94 corridor from Detroit to Kalamazoo is going to be the area to watch for Wednesday. But currently up in the UP, we have one severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Iron, Dickinson, and Marquette counties, and that goes until 6:45. That is for 1 inch hail. And we're also watching these storms closely for any particular rotation that could become surface-based. We do have some broad upper-level rotation with these storms currently, but nothing to really catch our eye right now. We have another warning that just popped in. Let's go ahead and check that out. That is including Gwinn, Little Lake, and Princeton, Michigan until 7:15. That is going to be for, again, quarter-size hail. So it's going to be the storm, I believe, out ahead. This one, and it's going to be for these counties right here. New warning incoming. You'll see it pop up on the screen here momentarily. But that is for, again, 1 inch hail. If we go to radar, we can probably see these dark purple spots in between all the red. That is your hail core. So every storm currently that I see has hail on it. This storm, and there's the warning pop up on the screen. There's that. Go ahead and click this. You can read the text for yourself. That's for Delta County now, and it's going to be including Marquette and Dickinson as well. But the new county is Delta County, moving east at 35 miles per hour. That, again, is for 1 inch hail and wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour. So just below severe limits with that. So mainly right now a hail threat. The wind threat currently looks to be elevated. That may change as these storms continue east southeast. As the evening goes on, these storms may become surface based and may pose more of a damaging wind and isolated tornado threat as the evening goes on. Back here into Wisconsin, I believe this is Wisconsin. To make sure real quick, not that. We have another warning down here for these cells entering Michigan. Apparently, I can't click it. There it goes. That's going to be for Vilas County in north central Wisconsin. So just across the border into Wisconsin, we have another warning, and that is going to be for 60-mile-per-hour winds and 1-inch hail. So that storm is knocking on Michigan's door. We'll have to watch that closely. And then up here on the lake, we have this beast of a storm that's about to move on shore, and it has a really beefy hail core on it as well. Currently, just a special marine warning. It's over water, not land, and that's going to be for wind gusts to 50 knots and large hail. So that is borderline severe. 50 knots of wind is, I want to say, roughly between 55 and 60 miles per hour. I don't know the exact translation to knots to miles per hour on that, but that's going to probably need a warning here very soon. So again, one warning currently, 2 warnings now in effect. One for this cell on your left of the screen, and one for the cell on the right of the screen. Yeah, Christine, the weather this year has been quite odd, especially for Monroe County. You had that tornado go through Detroit Beach a few weeks ago, then you had another tornado that's kind of spun up over Dundee. Both tornadoes in Michigan this year, we've had 2 tornadoes so far, and both of them have been in Monroe County. So go figure with that. I think the lake influence, what we call a lake breeze, is affecting a lot of these storms. As they enter and hit that lake breeze, they start rotating a little quicker, and in response to that, we have an increase of wind shear. So that's probably why you're seeing an increase of severe weather there in Monroe County. But it has been a very odd year this year. If you guys have any questions about today or even tomorrow, go ahead and take them. We're just going to be watching these cells as they continue moving across Upper Peninsula. Again, today's threat is mainly for Upper Peninsula, and then tomorrow we're going to be talking from Saginaw to Muskegon and south. So, and then Wednesday is going to be dependent on how Tuesday plays out, but Wednesday looking like it's going to be I-94 from like Detroit to Kalamazoo and then south of there, that kind of day. There is a chance that Wednesday's threat could shift even further south into Indiana and Ohio. There's a possibility of that as well, but as of right now, that's going to be the play out of Wednesday. We could see a potential complex or squall line impact those areas as well on Wednesday. The forecast is very complicated, very confusing if you're not too familiar with weather. There's a lot of different moving variables. We have a warm front, we have wind shear that's borderline in the right areas at the right times. You have so many moving parts to this forecast that one influence of previous day, like for example, if these storms tonight are, if they're, should I say, further north than expected, that's going to shift tomorrow's severe threat further north, but we don't expect that to happen. But any particular shift, even if it's a minor, 10, 25-mile shift, that could be the difference of a county versus a county not included in a warning. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a very confusing forecast, but we try to keep up with it as best as possible. So again, today is mainly for the Upper Peninsula, and then tomorrow we're talking the central and southern parts of the Lower Peninsula. The SPC, who issues the severe weather outlooks, we are in a marginal risk, a slight and marginal risk today. Let me see if I can go ahead and pop that up on the screen. Give you 1 second. Let me try to present a different screen here so you guys can see. Yeah, here we go. Let's see if this works. So this is, make sure it's working. There it goes. So this is an index of state by state SPC outlook. So today's outlook, we're going to click that, and there you go. That should be on your screen, and it is. Cool. So you can see the yellow is the slight risk, so level 2 of 5, and that extends in the very southern part of the UP. And then surrounding areas in dark green is a marginal level 1 of 5. In that yellow area, they expect the greatest potential for severe weather, including the possibility of tornadoes. So it's very important that we track these storms as they move towards a better environment down toward the southern part of the UP. And then with that being said, we're going to go to tomorrow's severe risk. And you can see they have a marginal risk right now extending from about Roscommon all the way down to Mount Pleasant to just north of Grand Rapids there. And then that is for mainly damaging winds and large hail. And then as of tomorrow, or as of, should I say, Wednesday, they have around the I-94 corridor, we're going to call it 96, from Grand Rapids to Flint and south. They have in a marginal risk for severe weather. So I have to watch these next coming days closely. And it looks like Thursday may be another day to watch as well as Friday. We have just this boundary just kind of stalls out. So definitely something to keep on, keep on our toes as we continue through these next few days. Go ahead and switch back here. Appreciate you guys tuning in here. Go ahead and switch back to the radar screen. Again, we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect in the UP. Go ahead and pull the radar back up if I can find it. There it is. And these are turning into elevated supercells, so they're going to have a rotating updraft with them. So if these can become surface-based, they will pose a tornadic threat. But right now, they appear to be elevated, which means the updraft isn't on the surface, so you're not going to see that tornadic potential reach the surface. So that's a really good sign for right now. So we have 2 warnings in effect for Iron, Dickinson, Delta, Marquette, and Iron counties until 6:45. And again, this one is for 7:15 for Delta County, and that's going to be for large hail. And you can see the purples are what we're watching for the large hail threat. Should these become surface-based, we're going to become concerned for damaging winds and potentially tornadoes. Again, we're going to watch this really closely as the evening wears on. If they drop the warnings, we'll probably hop off here, but we're probably going to have warnings issued for quite a while. So we're going to stay live as long as possible. But yeah, take a zoom out here of the wide shot of what's coming. We have scattered some thunderstorms that are strong to severe. Currently 2 warnings in place, but I would not be surprised if some of these back here get a warning on them, as well as this cell over here. Excuse me. And they both have the classic supercell look, where if you pause this, you have basically almost like an eagle effect on this cell. Same thing up here. We call it a flying eagle effect. It's a classic supercell look. But at this point, it is elevated, and we hope it remains elevated. It'll just pose a hail threat if this continues. We take a peek at the rotation and velocity. We do have some upper level rotation with that. Really strong inflow indicated by bright green. And the red doesn't really meet the green, but it does indicate that there's some turning up there. And it also could be some hail falling in there as well. And same thing down here. You have, this is probably more of a downdraft or a hail threat. So yeah, you have inflow and then you have the downdraft. So that's mainly a downdraft signature right there. So there probably could be some good winds on the south side of this cell. So I have to watch that closely. But otherwise, we are tracking multiple storms here. I expect a couple more warnings to be issued here in the next couple of minutes. But as of right now, those are the only two warnings that are in effect. If anybody has questions, I will be willing to answer. It can be about tomorrow or this upcoming week or even weather in general. Just kind of chill out, hang out, and enjoy yourself. We have 25 people, 26 now. Again, if you guys are just joining us, we're tracking severe thunderstorms up in the upper peninsula of Michigan. We expect this to continue into the evening, where an isolated tornado and damaging wind threat may pose a risk, especially in the southern part of the UP. So I have to kind of watch this closely as the evening goes on. And again, tomorrow we have a risk for severe weather in the lower peninsula, again, mainly for damaging winds and large hail. So while we have some downtime here, we're just going to be watching the radar. I'm going to go ahead and make the post on the page for tomorrow's forecast. So give me 1 second. If you guys want to go read that, you can. It'll be up momentarily. We offer it to subscribers for a few hours to begin with, so they get it first, and then we issue it to the public, sometimes in a different format as well. We usually go more in depth for the people who subscribe to us. But we never withhold information from people. If it's a valuable information, if it's going to be life-saving, we're always going to make sure everybody gets it. So we're going to go ahead and get that posted.
All right, hey, I'm back.
Nick is back. You want to take over for a second, Nick?
Yeah, what are we talking about?
Your volume is pretty low, but we're just talking. I'm getting the forecast for Tuesday and Wednesday up on the page. You want to come to these storms? I don't know if you have a radar pulled up in front of you or not.
Does that sound a little better?
I can barely hear you. Other people may be able to. Let me turn my volume up. Try now.
I don't know. I was going to say I'm about as close as I can get to my mic. Chris says these winds are raging. We have a wildfire going on right now near Mesik. It is spreading fast.
That's not good.
That is not good. Where is Mesik again? Is that in the UP?
It's up there somewhere. I want to say north of Saginaw.
So first we've heard of a wildfire up there. Oh, Mesik's by Cadillac, north of Cadillac.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember. Yeah, unfortunately, Cadillac doesn't look like it's going to get any rain to help stop that right now.
Hopefully it rains a little bit later tonight for you guys. For you guys up there.
Yeah, hopefully they can get that under control. I am curious though. These Wisconsin storms, I'm kind of waiting for those severe warnings to be extended into the UP.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. I do believe we're going to have a couple of extensions there, and also that supercell coming on to shore up to the right on the screen there. It's out over the lake right now.
The one by Christmas?
I don't have a map in front of me, but Yeah, up there. Yeah,
The special marine warning up there.
yeah, I expect it to be a warning when it hits land there. So we'll have to watch that one closely too.
It's just about to hit. I think in the next few scans we might get one.
All right, so the forecast was just posted to the page for Tuesday and Wednesday. So if you guys want to go check that one out, go ahead and feel free to. Diving back into the model here, not the model, but the radar, we do have some broad rotation in the upper levels. We go up to tilt 4. Well, let's try tilt 2 and 3 first. Yeah, that's definitely a good hail core there and potentially some broad rotation taking shape.
Oh wow!
Nothing imminent that speaks or that says tornado, but definitely interesting to watch. Now, this supercell here near Gwyn has a very interesting hail core on it. Now, if we zoom in and we trace that, it's a complete U shape. That's very interesting. Let's go ahead and switch over to the correlation coefficient. So
Kinda
this
looks like
is
a wishbone.
basically say what, Nick?
Kind of looks like a wishbone.
It does. So we have the correlation coefficient product, which is a measure of anything bigger than a raindrop in the atmosphere. It's going to show up yellowish or a blue color. If it's a tornado, it'll show up like a little perfectly cylinder ball. Usually it's blue. Not always, but it will be like yellowish blue. When hail falls, we have this scattered look like this, where I just circled, where it's you can see the darker red, the purples are what normally it looks like. And you have these little specks. That's what is bigger in the atmosphere than a raindrop. So that's where we're getting the hail from. It's a good indicator there of where hail is falling, and you can definitely see it with this. It's a pretty defined hail core. I would not be surprised if hail's over 1 inch in that storm, just because it's so pronounced. The updraft on that's probably really strong.
Have you looked at the VIL?
We can try that. The updraft of that is really good.
I'm looking at it right now. It's at 79.5 kilograms.
Yeah, check that out. That is some insane hail falling there. Look at that.
That's some big drops.
So that big old white part is probably, I'd probably say 1.5 inch hail at the very least. That is pretty much maxed out on the scale there. So that's definitely some heavy rain and or some big hail falling there. And again, the storm back behind here has the exact same signature, South Republic. Excuse me. So definitely some good hail, good size hail falling with these storms. Again, these are warned for 1 inch hail. I'll go ahead and double check that really quick, make sure no updates have happened. That says 1 inch, and this says 1 inch. And this wind gust now says 70 miles per hour. So they updated this warning for quarter size hail and 70 mile per hour wind gusts. And then those are both radar indicated. Go ahead and look at this really quick. Yeah. So this area in particular right here has some interesting feature for some downdraft winds. So what happens when the hail and rain falls very quickly, it hits the ground and it spreads out. So think of it like this. We'll draw it over here. Rain falls down like this, and it hits the ground and it spreads out this way and that way because it can't go anywhere else. So the force of that rain causes an outflow rush of winds to either direction, causing a microburst. And that is what's happening in this cell. We have rain falling and hail falling at such a rapid pace. When it hits the ground with such force, it causes outward motion, and boom, you have severe wind gusts. So that's what's happening there. Classic microburst signature. I do not see any towns listed on my radar scope map, but if you are South Republic and east of Gwyn, I'd be in your homes right now taking shelter. Do not be outside. There's probably some intense lightning with this as well as some big hail, and with this storm in particular, some intense wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and zoom back out and take a peek at the large picture. Still no more warnings issued so far, but that will probably change as the evening goes on. These storms are moving east-southeast at around 35 to 45 miles per hour. We have another warning just got issued. This is for Gwyn, Palmer, and Chatham County. The towns of Gwyn, Palmer, and Chatham County. Wow, I said county twice. The towns of Gwyn, Palmer, and Chatham until 7:45 p.m. have to excuse me. I'm kind of tired today, so I'm going to be a little off with my verbiage. So
It's a Monday.
yeah, it's a Monday. That's for sure. Wait for that the new warning to pop in here. That should pop in any moment. But again, that is until 7:45 for 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail. We have Northland, Palmer, Gwynn, Rock, Chatham, and the Trinary in the path of that. Hope I pronounced that right. Our pleasure, Maxwell. This is what we love doing. So again, today is mainly a risk for hail and wind, but there is a chance of an isolated tornado up in the Upper Peninsula. Tomorrow we have a threat for damaging winds and hail south of, go ahead and say south of Saginaw to Muskegon and down to the border of Ohio, Indiana. Some of the models are backing off on some moisture for tomorrow, so we'll watch that close and see how that plays out. But for right now, we have a low-end severe risk for any storms that are possible to pop up tomorrow.
Did you look at
The
the
new
severe
warning-
thunderstorm? Sorry. Did you look at the severe thunderstorm warnings in Wisconsin? I know they kind of expire here in about 15 minutes, but it's impacting or a hazard is 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and $50 size hail. I've never seen that before. Like I've never seen $50 be a size.
Yeah, $50 is definitely. What would that be? Would that be inch and a half? Or would that be 2 inches? I'll say it's inch and a half hail. So we have an MPing, which is a spotter report of half-inch hail. That's basically in Wisconsin, about to cross into Michigan, pretty much in the next 10 minutes. So if you're in Iron River area, Gastra, Crystal Falls, Mastodon, if you're in those areas, be prepared for any. The storms are going to be packing probably some good sized hail with that. I would not be surprised if they reissue that warning. We have another MPing that just came in of dime size hail, which is 0.75, so just below severe limits on that one. So we have some good size hail falling. That's against those are confirmed spotter reports that people are reporting with those MPings. I wanted to cover this really quickly. The new warning is for Alger County, and that goes until 7:45 Eastern, 6:45 Central Time. It's going to be northeastern Dickinson, northwestern Delta, southern Marquette, and southwestern Alger County in upper Michigan. That's moving east at moving east at 40 miles per hour. 60 mile per hour winds and quarter-size hail are the threats. And with that storm, we have, man, it just got even more intense. Look at that dark purple now in there. So that hail core has strengthened just south of Gwynn, moving east towards Limestone. And that has a very slight southward track to it, but Limestone looks to be a beeline in the path for that storm. So if you know anybody between Gwynn and Limestone and ahead of the storm, tell them to get inside immediately. There's probably some big hail falling. I would not be surprised if it's over an inch, approaching 2 inches with this storm. These are classic supercells as well, which means they have a rotating updraft. So mainly when you have a supercell, for there to be tornadoes with a supercell, you have to have the updraft be surface-based. So what that means is there's enough instability and enough ingredients that are present at the surface that the updraft can extend down and can absorb the ingredients on the surface. But today, at least for right now, that's not the case. These supercells have an elevated updraft, which means that the mesocyclone tornado is not a surface base, which means that we don't have any damaging wind that's driven from the storm or tornado threat. We do have damaging wind threat because of downdrafts and microbursts, and there's a difference between a storm-driven wind and a microburst-driven wind, if that makes sense. So we don't have the updraft right now to support any tornadoes or any damaging winds, but we do have support for microbursts, which could produce damaging winds. It's really confusing, I understand, but I try to explain that as best as possible.
It's still interesting that is holding its horseshoe shape.
Yeah, it is. It's like two fishes almost if you were to Draw out the
Okay.
tail right here, the body, and the head. And same thing over here. You have this, and you have the body and the tail. It's
I
kind
feel
of
like I've
weird,
seen a painting of that or something somewhere. Maybe a
right?
statue.
Right. Take a peek over here really quick at this beast of a storm coming on shore. It is now on land, and I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to check out the radar, or not this. I want the correlation coefficient. Yeah, there's probably some good hail with that. I wouldn't say it's too big. I guess I can understand why no warning has been issued. The winds look pretty calm in that storm as well. So that storm over the lake is now on land, probably packing, we'll say probably dime size hail at most. And that's moving east. No warning on that. Probably some good wind gusts, but nothing severe at this time. I do expect there to be another warning issued for this storm, as there have been multiple hail reports approaching severe limits. So I would not be surprised if that gets a warning here momentarily. Um, but for right now, just the two warnings that are in effect for the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and those are until 6. I think one's expired now. Yeah, they canceled that one, and this one is until 7:45 Eastern time. Go ahead and animate this and head back to chat. If anybody has any questions about today or tomorrow or anything in general about this week or weather in general, go ahead and ask it, and we'll do our best to answer. Yes, we do have a marginal risk, Chuck E. Cheese. Thanks for watching here on YouTube. So we appreciate you, a YouTube viewer. We do have a marginal risk tomorrow for lower Michigan, a majority of lower Michigan, and that's for damaging winds and hail. You're in Tuscola County, so you're up in the thumb there, aren't you? That's where I saw my first tornado up in. Oh wait, was it Tuscola? Yeah, I think it was Tuscola, up by Kingston. That was back in 2017. Pretty quiet chat tonight. So taking back over here, we have a severe thunderstorm warning that is currently in effect until 7:45, and that is going to be for Dickinson, Delta, Marquette, and Delaware counties in northern Michigan. This is for 1-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. The storm is moving east at 40. We have two storms in the warning area. One near Gwinn, one near it's by the Air Force Base. We'll say that. And one back here approaching Gwinn. So we have two storms worth looking at. Good sized hail cores in both of them. Would not be surprised if hail over 1 inch is falling, but right now the warning is only for 1-inch hail. There's not much else going on besides what's happening in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We can talk about this week coming up, and we have multiple days of severe weather potential. Not to say we're going to see severe weather every single day, but we do have the potential for severe weather every single day up until, we'll say, Thursday, maybe even Friday. So with that being said, the potential today is for the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, for all hazards in the southern part of the UP. And right now we have the hazard of hail and wind. Tornadoes do appear possible, but we'll have to see how these storms interact with the environment in the next hour or two and kind of get a feel for if they're going to become surface-based and have a tornado threat with them. Excuse me. Tomorrow, we have a marginal risk, which is a low-end risk for wind and hail, and that is going to be for the lower peninsula from Muskegon over to Saginaw and points south to the border of Ohio and Indiana. We have we have a severe thunderstorm watch that has just been issued for pretty much the entire UP. And the watch states it is in effect until 1 a.m. Eastern, 12 a.m. Central. It states scattered hail up to 2-inch size possible, isolated gusts to 70 mile per hour, and a couple tornadoes are possible. That watch includes a majority of the UP as well as north central Wisconsin. That again is till 12 a.m. Central, 1 a.m. Eastern. So with that being said, how Tuesday plays out will affect how Wednesday takes shape. And it's a very complicated forecast, but to simplify it, basically we're watching the area where the boundary / warm front / cold front sets up. So if it sets up south of the border, it shifts the severe threat south. If it sets up where we think it will set up right now, which is the I-94 corridor, we do have potential for 2 rounds of showers and storms on Wednesday. The first one being in the early morning. We could have a complex arrive right around 10 o'clock in the morning in southeast Michigan, at least, and probably closer to 8, maybe 7 o'clock in the western parts of southeast or southwest Michigan. And then we also have a threat later on that day, which could develop. It may not develop, depending on how everything plays out. We do have the risk later on Wednesday, and that could be the day to watch if everything plays out correctly. If we have the instability, we do have good wind shear in place along that warm front, so we'll have to watch that closely for potential, for a higher potential, should I say, for tornadoes and supercells. Thursday, the warm front will lift back north, and the wind shear looks to be on a little bit on the weaker side Thursday, so maybe more of an isolated severe threat, but we'll have to watch that again, see how that plays out. Very complicated forecast. Very, very complicated week coming up, but we do have potential every single day somewhere in Michigan. A lot of people are probably going to say, "Well, I didn't get anything, or we didn't get anything here." Yeah, that's going to be the nature of these storms. They're going to be isolated to maybe scattered in nature. So one county may get 1.5 inches of rain. The county next to it may not get anything. So that's just going to be the nature of these storms. It's not going to be a widespread severe event, but it will be widespread in terms of rainfall. We're probably going to see between 1/4 and 1 inch of rain for pretty much everybody here in Michigan. So that's the good news. We could see areas with thunderstorms that repeatedly train over the same area. In those areas, we could see some localized flash flooding. Very, very possible, especially on Wednesday, as that warm front just kind of trains multiple rounds of showers and storms over the area. But again, it's going to depend on where that warm front will set up. That's going to depend on what happens Tuesday, and what happens Tuesday is going to depend on what happens tonight. So it's kind of like a domino effect. Whatever happens today or tomorrow will affect the next day in advance. So things can change. Things will change. So just be on your toes and stay tuned to our page, as well as your local NWS offices and any weather forecasting services you guys tune into. you saw a tornado form close to. Okay, so Chuck E. Cheese, that is what we call a cold air funnel. We did have some reports that it did touch ground, but it was never confirmed. If it did, it would not be a tornado. It'd be considered a landspout. Now, the difference between a landspout and a tornado is the cold air funnel slash landspout, same family, but they don't have an updraft to a storm that is rotating like a supercell. What you're seeing on your screen right now is a supercell thunderstorm, which is capable of a tornado. Back on Saturday, the updraft for a cumulus cloud developed into a rain shower, but the updraft of that storm was not rotating. Instead, there was very little wind shear, and there's a lot of cold air aloft in the atmosphere. When you have conditions like that, including other atmospheric tendencies such as vorticity, which is basically the measure of twisting, and what we call three cape, which is a measure of stability in that part of the atmosphere, when you have everything coupled together like that, you get cold air funnels, and when they touch ground, they're considered landspouts. It did not have a rotating updraft. It was not a tornado, but it was in the same family, if that makes sense. Good evening, Casey from Rudyard. But yeah, that was on the backside of low pressures, we get those cold air funnels quite a bit. They're especially more common in the late summer, early fall seasons, but they're not unheard of during the summer at all. It's just they're associated with low pressure systems. And we had one passing overhead Friday, and then Saturday we're on the backside of that. So we just had all the right conditions for cold air funnels.
Looks like Wisconsin just had their severe storm warning updated. Michigan has yet, or the UP has yet to have that carry over from Wisconsin.
Yep, so they got extended down following the border of Wisconsin and Michigan. That's going to be for Forest County, Forest, Villas, and Florence County until 7 o'clock Central Time. That's going to be for 1-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. So you're basically scraping the border of Michigan there. So have to watch that close. Let's go ahead and take a peek at these storms. We haven't done that in a while. Now we have a good hook now. Excuse me.
We have a good hook now over in, I believe you were going to say Phelps.
Yeah, over that. I don't see Phelps on my radar here, but it's over here just east of Gwynn, south of Palmer. Again, no rotation that's tight enough to warrant watching. It's just, this is a classic supercell look. You have
I see what you're saying now.
You have the hail core, you have the flying eagle look, the rain out ahead. Like this is a classic supercell as you can get. So if this becomes surface based, the tornado threat on this is going to be really interesting to kind of track. Right now, luckily these storms are elevated, which means that the rotating updraft rotation is not reaching the ground, which is a very good thing. If this was a surface based storm, we'd be talking a tornadic threat. As of
I
right
do wish
now,
I was up there.
Say what?
I do wish I was up there getting pictures of these storms because they're probably beautiful right now.
These are probably very photogenic. Yeah, you're right. The cell over here, just south and east, or south and west of Limestone, also now has a hook on it. Like, you can't get much more classic than this. You have one supercell here. You have the other supercell behind it. You have this looks like a string in a supercell. This might be a supercell. This is probably a supercell. This is probably a supercell. Like, you have a lot of supercells up here in Upper Michigan. So if these decide to become surface-based, we need to be watching closely for any damaging winds and an isolated tornado threat.
I am expecting.
Sorry.
I don't know about expecting, but I would be on the lookout for a new severe warning to the west of Republic. It does look like that is. Looks looking pretty red over there.
So, yeah, looking at this cell in particular, if you go ahead and play the scan, you can definitely tell it's becoming more and more organized. As that continues eastward, you can tell it's developing into a supercell. And if we take a peek at velocity with this, we only have one radar to go off of up here, so we don't really have good radar coverage. But Yeah, definitely keep an eye on that one as well. Good call there, Nick. There actually does
Radar
some,
is indicating inch and three quarter hail, which obviously radar indicating is not what's actually happening, but it is a good indication.
interesting feature with this. You have an area of increased velocity there that kind of looks like rotation, but when you compare it, I circled it on the screen here. When you compare it to the reflectivity, it's clear air. It's not associated with the storm itself. So that's inflow, or what we call side lobe contamination sometimes. It can be kind of used interchangeably. Again, not rotation with that, just good inflow with that storm. So have to watch that closely. Again, everything right now appears to be elevated. Hail, microburst threat, no tornado threat at this time. That could change. I have Twitter pulled up here. Chris, hey Chris, what's up? No damage reports at this time. I was just about to hop on, excuse me, Twitter to see if there's any reports coming in to Marquette, but currently none that we know of.
It is pretty remote up there.
Yeah, the population of that last warning that got issued was only 12,000 people, so it's not very populated up there. Um, yeah, just under 13,000 actually. So not too popular, which is a good thing, but still it's affecting people. So yeah, like Nick said a little bit ago, Adam, definitely probably photogenic storms up there. So I'm sure we'll get some pictures eventually, but right now it looks like we're few and far between with any pictures or damage reports being sent in. Let me see if everybody's up there chasing. I don't know if anybody would be. Yeah, I don't see one spotter out up there. It's crazy. So nobody's out there chasing it. So I'll have to rely on locals to send in stuff. I'll be right back, Nick.
No problem. Yeah, Chris should have gone camping up there. I wish I was up there getting pictures. So we just got a new severe warning. Not on the cell I thought we were going to get, but a new severe warning nevertheless. I do not have control of Ryan's radar, but I'm going to read it off for you guys on my screen here. You just won't be able to see it. Hazard is quarter-sized hail, so that's the only hazard that this warning is showing as of now. So they're not showing any wind threat, just quarter-sized hail for what county is. Let's see. Locations will be Iron River, Crystal Falls, Stambow, US 141 between Covington and Amasa. Sorry if I butcher some of these names. We got Caspian, or Caspane, Alpha, Hagerman Lake, Golden Lake, Mineral Hills, and Paint Lake are the locations impacted. All right, I'm going to break the silence here with some background music. Just so you guys know we're not just gone. I think I just saw another warning get updated. Yeah, they just extended one of them out. I'm actually going to turn that off right now. Pause that. All right. Updated warning. Maybe they didn't. Not one of them expired. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, what's up?
Are you okay now?
For right now. So we have a new warning up, as Nick was talking about, for Iron County, and that goes until 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. That is for 1-inch hail and 50-mile-per-hour winds. You can see here
Did it say 50-mile-an-hour winds?
Yeah, it's sub 50, it said.
Oh, okay. I was
Yes,
looking at the hazards.
Up to 50. So
Gotcha.
have to watch those cells as they continue eastward. Again, nothing right now is surface-based, so all hail and downdraft winds are occurring with these. So isolated downdraft winds. We just dropped the other warning that was up here. Now I have two warnings now. The one to the east is for Marquette and Alger, as well as Dickinson and Delta counties. We'll be east at 40, and that's until 6:45. That's for 60-mile-per-hour winds and 1-inch hail. Classic supercell looks. Mainly hail and damaging winds ongoing, so hopefully it continues that way into the evening. I'm really curious if we can get some photos from these cells, these storms.
Do I need to keep looking on Twitter?
You can if you want. So again, looking at the cells up here in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, everything right now is just hail and some gusty winds. Nothing tornadic right now. That could change as the evening goes on. We'll have to watch very closely. Usually when the sun goes down, we kind of lose instability and the storms kind of start dying. That may not be the case tonight. We'll have to kind of watch and see. Towards 10 o'clock, I believe the cells were at their most mature point. So we do have a couple hours yet, according to the models, that they may have some tornadic potential closer to the 9-10 o'clock time frame. We'll have to watch that very closely here. But for right now, just 2 warnings that are in effect. I did not mean to zoom out that far. I apologize. Just 2 warnings that are in effect until this one. The new one is in effect until 7:30 Eastern. And the other one is for until 7:45 Eastern. That's again for Alger, Delta, Dickinson, and Marquette counties. And then the west warning is for Iron County. With that being said, guys, we don't really have much else to talk about. So we just have some isolated hail threat going on here. So at this point in time, we're probably going to go ahead and end the stream. And if anything becomes tornadic or significant in the way of hail or wind, we'll jump back on here and go live. But for right now, just isolated cells, isolated severe thunderstorms moving right now up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Tomorrow is a threat for the Lower Peninsula, and again Wednesday. So if you haven't already, check out our forecast that we posted on our Facebook. We posted a few of them today. So if you're interested in reading what we're thinking for tomorrow, go ahead and give that a read, and make sure you give this stream a big thumbs up. For right now, if anybody has any more questions, now it's time to answer them. We're going to go ahead and probably hop off here, barring anything significant happening. So I'll give about a minute for any questions if you guys have any, and then we're probably going to hop off here.
I just checked Twitter again. I didn't see any photos.
Chris says he should have gone camping this week. Yeah, Chris, I mean, if you're camping up in the Upper Peninsula, you're missing out. Chris is a good friend of ours. He chases a lot in Michigan. So he's probably kicking himself for not going camping this week. All right, guys. So if you guys don't have any more questions, we're going to go ahead and call it a night here. Nick is on Twitter looking for any pictures. So if we do find any, we'll post them to our page if we get permission. So otherwise, guys, we're going to go ahead and cut it short here. If you have anything else to say, Nick?
No, just thanks for watching.
Yeah, and if anything happens, anything more significant happens, we'll hop back on here and update you guys. But in the meantime,
one more thing. Sorry, if you know anybody in the UP right now who has pictures of these storms or could possibly get pictures of these storms safely, mind you, please have them send it our way. We would love to put those up on the Facebook page.
Yes, we appreciate any content that we get. You're welcome, Rhonda. Thanks for watching. Adam says good night, guys, and we will see you guys. We're not going to go to sleep yet. We'll be watching.
I don't know. I might.
Well, yeah, you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for work?
Sometimes.
But in the meantime, guys, we'll go ahead and call it a night here. And again, if anything else pops up, we'll hop back on here. So have a safe night, guys.
See ya.